let's get into the system itself then and give you a sense of how EFOS does what it does. So there are three main elements to EFOS. Okay, first thing, most importantly, it's a cloud-based system. We don't do any kind of localized hosting anymore because it's just too restrictive. Everything we do is hosted within Microsoft Azure. Okay, thankfully not Amazon, looking at what's gone on over the past week or so. Which means it's very, very reliable. It's very, very consistent in terms of the service delivery. We never need to take the system down when it comes to releasing updates or ongoing maintenance. And the reality of it is you have two main servers, if you like, that are mirroring what is built within your EFOS system. So in the massively unlikely event that one of them breaks, it automatically fails over to the second, which is an exact clone of the main site. So you would notice no difference aside from worst case having to log back in. So very, very reliable, very, very secure platform. So much so that we do have military clients as well that use it in its standard format in that sense. Three main aspects to it. So as I was just explaining, there is EFOS Web, which is what we're looking at now on the screen. Although everyone can use this, everyone has access to it in various different formats. The reality of it is it's becoming more and more of the admin tool because your trainers and your pilots can actually access everything they need through the iPad or through the new mobile phone app. Lots of advantages for those, which I'll come on to. So within EFOS Web, you've got all of your reports and analytics. You've got all of your training forms and training courses, which I'll explain in a second. And more importantly, you've got all of the admin side of it as well. So although we build the system for you in the first place, and then we help you maintain the ongoing life of the forms and the courses, the reality of it is there is a lot that you can actually interact with and customize on a training session by training session basis, on almost a form by form basis. Because we effectively build, let's say, line check, for instance, depending on where your pilots are within their cycle, they might need one of two or three different versions of that form for that particular training content. We build one line check form, and then it has lots of different profiles, which means when you go to select a line check, EFOS will help you identify which one you need, and you take the right one automatically. So it's designed to take a lot of the thinking out of what's ultimately required and just present you with what's needed when it's needed to avoid the chances of you filling out the wrong form or making errors as you go through. So that's big time saving number one, reduced error rates, more accurate data. Okay. Also, because we build everything, it's just ready to use. So all of the forms, as you'll see in a moment when we go into the form library, all of the training courses, all of the syllabus items that need to sit within them are just there. So effectively, you select the form, you select the items within the form that you're going to train today, and it's ready for use. Okay, and one of the more recent sets of changes.
Okay, so you have the
That's okay.
Some default forms and and some kind of default syllabus and stuff. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so that's the way we work. So we'll ignore a lot of all of this for the time being. We'll just focus on the main elements to give you a sense of what's there. So if we go into training forms management, this is quite messy and very full compared to what yours would look like, but effectively this is your form library. You can see all of your active, in use, live forms are here. And then any forms that have been updated and ultimately archived can still be accessed down here. So this is another reason why we don't do self-serve, because change control is a nightmare. It's a real, again, a pain in the ass in terms of if you get it right, it's brilliant. If you get it wrong, you have forms that are out of synchronization and the wrong forms being used. So effectively, every time a form is changed, it gives you the ability to specify when that form needs to go live. As soon as that form goes live, automatically archives the old version. You retain all of the data and the example forms that have been completed previously, and it just presents pilots with their new forms moving forward, the new version of the form moving forward. So really, really efficient. we look at line check, you can see that there are 4 main profiles for our line check in here. If we go line check with competencies, the first thing you see from an admin perspective is that we've not used that form very much recently. Let's go with a different one. There we go, that's better. So the first thing that you see is the audit trail for the form itself. So from an admin perspective, you can see which pilot last took that, last used that form almost when it was completed, what the date was that it was selected. And you can also see submission details, signing details, training outcome. So if there is an outcome on this form in terms of pass or fail, it will show you the outcome and it will show you the active status in terms of whether it's been started or not. It then gives you the ability to look at the form in more detail, which you'd expect. If you did want to go in and be able to look at the grading information within the form that's been captured, you can do. And likewise, if for any reason you ultimately needed to create a form, fill the form in, and submit the form on behalf of a trainer, you can do that as well. Your trainers can still access all of this. They have this as part of their login. But as you'll see when we move to the iPad, the route and workflows within the iPad are far more concise. So it's just a better, easier, faster experience for them. So think of this as being your window into what's going on from a training perspective. So effectively, this is kind of stage 1 of our process when we work with any airline. We work with you to understand.
Sorry, Jim, just a question for you.
Yeah.
And if you go back to the form, and if you generated PDF format, is it also some kind of specific layout? Because for example, currently we have some predefined form layout because it comes more from paper-based documents initially.
Yeah.
And that's why they're especially designed. And how it's actually look like here, for example.
So it looks very
a table, or it's some kind of as a layout is also possible.
No, it's fully structured. Yeah, it's a fully structured layout. So this is a very basic example of what's ultimately there. Everything is branded as per your airline branding in across the entirety. So everything you see within EFOS Web is all Silkway. And it's the same on the forms themselves. This is quite a basic version of the certification, but as you can see, gives you all of your sector information. Then you get into the grading in terms of competencies, the summary. So there's several different settings that you can apply in terms of what you want to see on the certificate. But this is the most detailed version. So you can see everything that was carried out as part of that training session and what the grading and potentially comments were for each and every item. So you've got a very, very clear exportable way of working there. We are also able, when it comes to regulatory forms that need to be submitted off the back of training, we are actually able to take the data that's been captured within the EFOS form and export that directly into a regulatory template so that it automatically populates it with all of the grading outcomes and the signatures. It's a bit more complicated, but it saves you from having to manually transfer data from one side to the next. And we know so far it's only really been the German regulators that have pushed for that, but it is something that we're able to do if required. Okay. So this gives you, for everything that's completed, EFOS will generate that certification, which means it's available to you and it's available to the pilots. And they have that for their records so they can see what's going on. Okay. Yes, it can be exported as well. You can print that off and you can email it and do whatever you need to with it. Okay. So that's our training form library. Effectively, the way that we work, we start by understanding what needs to be built. What training forms are you using? What training are you delivering? Which of those training forms need to reside within which training courses? And we ultimately create a statement of work that we can sign off between both companies, prioritize the order that we then deliver that statement of work, so that ideally we get you live with as many training forms as possible in the first instance, so you can just start using the system. start migrating across in a very managed way so that it reduces the impact on you guys from a training delivery point of view, and so that you can start to get familiar with the system as we train you to use it there. We're always very conscious of the fact that there will be a period of time where you'll be running two systems, because you've got to demonstrate to the regulator that this is a step forward. So you've got to deliver today's training whilst thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow with the new system. So we try and reduce the impact as much as possible there. Any questions on training forms?
The form management tab here I see is just so we can customize them, right, by ourselves, like adding the fields, removing fields, or
to a certain extent, yes. When it comes to adding new fields, when it comes to changing the forms in terms of their layout, that has to come back to us right now. And again, that takes us back to this whole self-serve element, because there is so much information that is captured behind these forms. It would be very, very easy to break that metadata by making a wrong move. Equally, you might have a line training form that has 5 different profiles. If you only change one, you don't change the other 4, then it breaks the forms within there. So there is a lot of complexity sat there at the moment that you just don't need to be involved in almost, which is why we have, or you have, so many free changes every month. The reality of it is, if you wanted to add, for example, an additional grading element to a form, or you needed to make fairly basic form changes, it takes our guys about an hour to test, and then you can have it back. Most of the time you can have it back pretty much same day. And it's actually, we actually get slowed down a lot in terms of signing these things off by the airline and your kind of change acceptance process there. So that's, in some senses, you could look at it as being, we can't even do it ourselves. None of our customers want to be able to do it for themselves, because it's such an efficient way of working. It doesn't cost for those basic items. So it's actually a bigger efficiency overall. So that's in terms of physical changes to the form. In terms of what's delivered on the form, depending on how the form is configured, you can actually have a lot of flexibility built into it, particularly around the syllabus items. So if you think of a sim training form, for example, most of the time those forms are just built so that they've got the main syllabus items for the period of training that's being delivered, and that's it. Whereas what a lot of our customers are now moving to with EFOS gives you all of the mandatory items, but then a load of additional scenario-based training that aligns with the scenarios in the simulator, so that you can actually customize it and adapt the learning in real time. So your trainers, I'll show you how to do this in a moment, but your trainers can literally open up the form to edit, and they can select additional items, or they can remove any items they don't want to complete, and ultimately then customize the training whilst they're delivering it. So you get far more out of the training sessions that way, because you can effectively push the pilots down a slightly different route, rather than having to come back and book an additional sim session potentially. Okay, makes sense?
yes, that's good. You're right that sometimes it might be complicated, and it's better that you manage that. Okay, so with forms, I think we're okay.
Okay,
and
so
yeah, so
let's go on a stage.
Mhm.
Let's go on a stage then. So courses. So we build the forms. We then focus on turning those forms into the relevant courses, or including those forms in the relevant courses. So what I'm going to show you is the worst case scenario for you scheduling a training course within EFOS. Okay. So for a start, all we're going to do is add a course. As you can see, all of the courses that have already been created that exist within EFOS are then available. So in this sense, we will select, we'll do the OCC, that's the one that gets used the most. So you instantly see 2 things. The first one is, because EFOS knows the duration of an OCC course, it automatically selects a start and an end date based on that duration time. Okay, you can override that. You can open up this section and you can select a different start date, a different end date accordingly. The next thing you notice is that all of the syllabus items are here. So again, you can actually customize this. If you've got pilots going through that are more experienced or less experienced, then you need to tailor the delivery. You can simply remove any item that doesn't need to be completed within this particular OCC. Okay. And when we add, that means all of those items have been removed from the syllabus down the left, and we can focus on what we need to. Those items can be added back in if you needed to at a later stage there. So that's it. The course is now created and ready to add crew members onto it. So you can see, you know, there is nothing to stop you from literally mapping out 6 months, 12 months at a time, having these things ready to just drop your crew members onto when they need to take it. Adding a crew member is just as easy. So we go add candidate. You see we've got 3 options. The first one, quite simply, we select 1 pilot at a time. We add, and that's it. That's available, ready to go. So you've now got a course, and you've got a pilot associated with that course, scheduled, ready to take it. Equally, when we look at the add candidates options, bulk add gives us the ability to just add all of the staff numbers, staff IDs. You can put as many pilots as you want. Available candidates is actually based on expiry dates. So this will present all of the pilots whose expiry date aligns with when this training is being scheduled for, and will automatically present those who should be allocated accordingly in that respect. So there's 3 ways you can do it. Obviously, the 4th way is using the automated scheduling feed, which will just take it directly from your rostering system and put it into the training that's available there. All you would need to do is have the training course scheduled in the background and ready to go. So really efficient way of working. For your trainers, they currently don't need to be allocated because they literally log into the iPad. They know who they're supposed to be training and what training they're delivering. So they log into the iPad, they select the pilots, and they select the training course. It's as simple as that, and I'll show you that in a second as we move into the iPad. So these are all the ways in which EFOS is so ridiculously easy to ultimately manage, and this is why it does generate such big savings, because it's so effective and efficient to use when it comes to scheduling these things. But equally as important, it's telling you what's going on in the background as well. So when we build your training forms, for instance, we build a lot of automation into the background. So if there is a failure, it automatically notifies everyone that needs to be made aware. If there is an expiry date approaching, it automatically notifies everyone that needs to be aware. You can track it through the dashboards as you log into the system. And equally, we can build a lot of elements into this that allow you to make certain things happen when the training is completed. So it could be as simple as the trainer finishes a form, they submit, and that's it. The training's completed and the records are updated automatically. Equally, it could be that your process means that admin have to be notified or a training captain has to be notified. They need to review the training, sign it off, and then it's completed. So all of these are the automated workflows that we can build into the background. So as soon as the trainer submits, it automatically goes where it needs to go and notifies the correct people. So again, really efficient, saves you from having to track what's ultimately going on day to day, because it'll tell you what's happening and what the latest is. If you did want to track it, then you've got the ability to use the dashboard you see here, which is a really, really simple way of working. So you can select any of the courses.
That one, okay, in terms of the schedule, if you have, for example, a lot of dripping and trainings, and how to easily see them, I mean, it is going to be list or the Gantt chart or
yeah, so you've again a couple of ways of doing it. So on a specific course basis, all you need to do is select the course that you want to look at, and it presents this. So you can see all of the OCC courses that are scheduled, and you can also see the active status. So these are the different color keys for the active status. As we can see, this one's in progress already. And when you log in, you can see the progress by pilots and by syllabus item. So it makes it very, very easy to track on a course-by-course basis. Alternatively, you can use the course schedule tool. So ours isn't very well populated, but the reality of it is everything that is scheduled on a month-by-month basis will appear within this Gantt chart. And then once it starts to be delivered, we've got some down here. Here we go. Once it starts to be delivered, it will ultimately appear in almost an ops board view, where it shows you the period of time and the active status as you go across. Ours isn't enabled at the moment, hence the reason we're not seeing anything. But you've effectively got two different ways of being able to monitor what's going on. Vast majority of our customers will just watch it via the main dashboard here and see what's going on accordingly. Okay. So training forms turned into training courses. Really, really easy to manage, track, and ultimately progress. The only other thing that I wanted to touch on very quickly in here is around qualification management and reporting. We won't spend long looking at this. We'll come back to it at a later stage. But effectively, when we build all of your different role types, we use our role profiles to track what training is required for each person. This sits under the qualification management and reporting. So if we look at the management side, we set this up in the first place, but then you've got total ownership. So it means for every single qualification in the system, you've got full control over the parameters surrounding that training. So starting off with the expiry date and the rules around the expiry date. At what point does that need to go from green to amber before it then goes to red when it's ultimately expiring? And is there a grace period attached to it? So that, for instance, within a 3-month period of the expiry, I can do that training and it won't reset, it won't affect my expiry date, it'll just extend it by another 12 months accordingly. So you've got a lot of control over how this works, and ultimately this is what drives a lot of the automation around what happens when something is completed or needs to be completed. We then
Can you show this qualification profile of someone, so just to see how it's shown?
Yeah, for the actual pilots, for the actual end user, of course. So this all sits within the admin section. I'm saying that, can I do it on this particular one? No, bear with me.
So qualification management pilot will see by themselves, yes, what their training requirements.
Yeah, you ultimately can. I don't think we've got any setup in here, but we can certainly show you what their profile looks like in terms of the information within staff and roles. So this is the admin area of the system. You've got full control over what ultimately sits within here. If we select our line training captain as an example, so there's a lot of information in here in terms of the data that's pulled through automatically from Blue One, for instance. So we have a crew feed that works automatically with Blue One, automatically talks to each other throughout the course of the day, makes sure all of the right people are in the system, identifies anyone that's no longer in the system, automatically archives them. So you don't have to manage people in 2 different systems. We then move down and you can see.
Send the data back to Blue One, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So upon completion of training, it sends the outcome back to Blue One. So the outcome is normally if it's a pass, for instance, it will be the updated expiry. If it's a fail, it will show them that, and it ultimately gives them the ability to, worst case scenario, take them off the line and make sure that pilot's not able to fly.
Just one quick question to you. I don't know, maybe you're familiar with that. So for example, we have such a specific case, like we have 2 different types, like 747 and 777. And we may have a few captains, commanders who can operate the boss, right? But there's a requirement, so you need to at least 4 or 5 landings before you change the type. So this also need to be tracked somehow, and it should go to Blue One as well in order to prevent improper scheduling. So do you have managed something like that?
Yeah, we do. We also have the ability to manage across multi-AOC as well. So where you've got different AOCs based in different parts of the world and the regulatory requirement might be slightly different, we can break it down to that level almost. So you've got requirements across 2 different aircraft types, requirements in order to be able to operate the 2 different aircraft types, and also the ability to then take that even further. So yeah, this all sits within the role profile and ultimately the requirements from a type rating perspective, for instance. And even taking it a stage further, we actually have a dashboard that enables you to track the progress of a pilot that's potentially been identified as suitable for command upgrade. So amongst all of these different parameters, you can also track that they're hitting all of their key milestones and achieving the relevant performance targets in order to be, in order to make the grade for the command upgrade process. So EFOS can track an awful lot of information to stop the wrong things from happening, or the wrong people from progressing, or the wrong people from flying when they're out of ticket or they've failed something accordingly. Again, one of the biggest reasons it's such a regulatory favourite, I think, because it makes it very hard for you to do something you shouldn't be able to do.
Где-то они планируют его на риске, как они знают, что support будут location.
Да, они это согласовывают в HR, да. HR will some company.
Okay, I understand. No, I just asked the different things about vacation stuff, and so yeah. So how you manage this also? I mean, is there any integration with HR, or you have your own model to see if there's someone on vacation or?
Yeah, so we have a. I mean, I would say this because it's my product, but I think we have possibly the best, most comprehensive leave management, vacation management tool. Which is again fully integrated.
I just want to get some clarification by our crew planning head of crew planning, and that's why I want to call, but he said stop, we just get some clarification and then we will get some info.
Yeah, so you can give us an idea of what you have and we can compare what we have. Then it's better to have like a fresh mind, just see what you can provide, and then we can compare.
So the easiest way to look at it, the difference between ours and some of the others out there, is that we actually hard code all of your rule sets. So all of these things that are agreed from a union perspective, from a contract perspective, all of these things are automatically built into our leave system, our vacation system. So when you have a pilot, when you have a captain, for instance, submit a leave requirement, EFOS automatically reviews all of the different rule sets and compares against other pilots that are in the same slot group, the same leave group, and makes the decision to say yes or no accordingly. That's not just about, I'm a captain, I fly both aircraft types, and I'm off. I'm trying to get the same time off as another captain that flies both aircraft types. It goes much further. It's also comparing special privileges. So I can fly into London Docklands or Heathrow or Hong Kong. It's also looking at special license requirements. It's also looking at TRI, TRE requirements. So it compares everything automatically in the background, and it presents your leave planners with a report that kind of says yes or no. So again, massively efficient system, and can be fully integrated with EFOS Training so that you can just access it. It's beneficial for your leave guys, but it's also really beneficial for you, because that's the dashboard I was talking about earlier, where you can see what capacity looks like over a 12-month period for each slot group. So if they want to talk about it, I will happily show them. But yeah, we have one, and it's really, really good. Really, really good. Used by some massively big airlines as well in that sense. Okay. Right, back to the question you asked earlier, because I'm conscious I'm running out of time. This is the profile area for a pilot, for a staff member. It starts off with the general information on the pilot themselves, which is taken directly from Blue One. It then moves into more of the custom fields. So this determines, for instance, what a staff member can see when they access EFOS, and also it helps EFOS determine what they need. So in this instance, you can see this is a trainer role. They're a line training captain, so they've got access to all global training requirements. It can be fleet and rank specific. So where you've got your trainers that can only train on the 747 versus the 777, you can make it fleet or rank specific. You can also make it base specific if they're flying certain areas. There's also there are additional settings where you're looking at someone that will train across both AOC and ATO, for instance, in terms of what they can see, what they can do. We then move into the areas that some of this isn't of benefit unless you're using things like crew notices or some of the additional modules that are outside of training. But then we get into the training role and the various different categories. So ultimately, you get a very comprehensive set of information based on each and every person within the system, and you can customize it accordingly to remove access or give access and update things like the role profile itself. The role profile part isn't actually enabled on our demo system right now, so you can't see the list of training that they would need to have, but all sits within here, which in turn all sits within our lists and categories. So it gives you an idea of just how much there is behind this system that makes it do what it needs to do automatically there. Okay. Some of this you wouldn't see, by the way, because some of this is for other systems like our shift log and handover notes, etc., which is different module that sits outside of training. Again, really good module, but sits outside of training.
Sorry, but what do you mean?
And the other aspect,
shift log is like a, what is that? Is just a shift log for instructor or for crew, or?
No, it's for the entire organization. It's for the entire organization. The shift log is designed to be used by each and every operational team and allows you to capture information around what's gone on throughout the course of a 12-hour shift period. So if you think of it from a training point of view, you can capture any potential delays, any issues caused by sims going down, any issues caused by aircraft technical failures when you're due to be doing line training. Literally gives you an area in which you can track everything that's going on across each department within the business. Particularly beneficial when you think of flight ops dispatch, flight tracking, maintenance and engineering, etc., because it just gives you a collective area to log information. A really powerful way of working. Also, our most cost-effective product. It's literally it works very differently to the other products that we sell. All of our other products are per user per month licensing, whereas this is more of an enterprise system with various different levels of access. So you would only need a very small number of shift managers, for instance, who can open up and edit the actual shift log itself. But then within the shift logs, we've got any that are actually active. Yeah, within the shift logs, you have the log entries, which are these, and that's where you can track the actual or record the actual information of what's going on, and also create checklists for mandatory tasks that need to be carried out on a day-by-day basis. So very powerful system in terms of stopping people from logging important information in various different places, bringing it all into one place, and then if there is an incident of any kind, you can task manage accordingly as well.
Okay, and you can also the data coming from shift log, you can query it, analyze it, or do something with that.
Oh yeah.
So it's separate fields.
So there are a couple of different elements. So if you look here, we've got the dashboard view. This is very basic at the moment because we've just rebuilt the system and relaunched it. But at the very highest level, you can track the number of logs by department and the number of log entries by department. But that then drills right the way down. So in principle, you would be able to go number of logs by department by category, number of logs by severity status, i.e., where you've got critical logs, etc. Basically, you can build reports within this to cover off all manner of different requirements. So we just custom build, and it shows you in here, or you can export it accordingly. So this, in principle, if you have repeat issues, this would make it very easy to identify those repeat issues, trend analyze, and understand why, so that you can start to look at it. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
What we'll do.
One more question. Before I think we're already 1 hour more, but just a quick about ATO stuff. What kind of things you have related to ATO, like a simulator scheduling or something like similar to that?
From an ATO perspective, when it comes to connecting or bringing in information around simulator scheduling, classroom scheduling, all of these sorts of things, we can integrate with other systems in order to bring that data through, but we don't do any of it within EFOS specifically right now. We're working with a number of different companies that do that type of thing, and looking at how we bring the data in and we present it accordingly. But we don't do the scheduling aspect of that per se. What we do is we make it very, very easy for both external training and your internal training to be delivered from an ATO perspective. And if anything, probably give you the ability to add value to anything that's delivered. Does your ATO only cover your airline, or do you also do external training delivery as well?
Okay, very good. Thank you. Can you show the iPad as the last option to we'll see before we go, I think.
Okay, let's just move across here. Bear with me 2 seconds. Screen. Right, you should be able to see it, but it's not letting me record for some reason. Let me stop sharing on this one. Screen. Screen. Right. While that's thinking about doing it, let me just close this. Randomly, for some reason, not sure why, it's not sharing right now. Might be that we just have to stop recording for a moment because it's not letting me share my screen for some really strange reason. Screen. Yeah, really bizarre. If you just bear with me 2 seconds, I'm just going to leave the call and come back on.
Okay.
Okay. Guys, can you still hear me?
Yes, we're here.
Perfect. Okay, let me just see if it works directly as opposed to trying to screen share onto the other screen.
Düz orada kampanya oyuncu bağlı. Ya burada bakarız. Yayıncı sonunda. Bu elinde düzeltirsin onu benzer.
Sen de burada düzeltirsin. 5 milyon hatta koyabilirsin.
Yok aylık.
Aylık 5 milyon. Aylık 5 milyon sen de pis değil.
Mesela.
Niye ki sen proyekt kimi gəlmə versən?
İstediyiz. Ben bu senetleri düzelttim. Bir öğrenirdim.
Okay.
Adıma 1000 eurona kadar pul verdim. Benim 1000 manat. Yani ondan başka o ancak senetleri yedirdi. O senetlerde yedirdi. Manipulation'a bakırdım. Her olmayan kimi Andrey'le tanış. Atar böyle hamısı.
Right. Guys, apologies. My iPad.
3 milyon 5 milyon. Bu bizde böyle şeylerde çok yavru dalma ve sevmez. Şu hazır program götürüyor. Bu şirket mümkün şirket özü işləyir. Bizə nə lazım? Bizə lazımdır ki, şirket arası sistem üzərində hazır sistem alaq, supportu var, hamısı işləyir.
Right. Apologies, guys.
Şeyler mesela yavru experience имеют. Это лишь его все некоторые вещи сделали, они постоянно мозги